People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku, and these are the top stories. Tinubu's government secures discounted prices for CNG. Ex-Imo State Governor Ijeoma dumps PDP, gives reason. EFCC officially serves Yaya Bello's lawyer 84 billion naira fraud charges sheet. EFCC arrests Sirika over alleged 8 billion naira Nigeria Air fraud. And Fubara pledges to resist pressure from self-serving politicians. Details now. The world news begins with the federal government announcing a concessionary gas pricing for mobility compressed natural gas. The Director, Chief Executive Officer of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, Michael Oluwagbemi, disclosed this in a statement today. He said the initiative secured the discounted pricing from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority through a letter dated April 20 and sent by its Chief Executive Officer. The PCNGI boss said N8bn has designated mobility CNG as a special status, which will serve as a subset of gas to commercial. Oluwagbemi said this will grant access for CNG to gas-based industry pricing categorization for an initial period of 5 years and renewable for another 5 years, in line with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. Oluwagbemi said the GBI pricing of $1 per 1 million thermal units is set much lower than ordinary $2 and $2.92 for power and commercial buyers respectively. You'll recall that in May last year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced plans to roll out CNG buses to cushion the impact of fuel subsidy removal. After months of planning to roll out 2,700 CNG buses, the government said on Sunday that it will launch the project before May 29, 2024. Meanwhile, former governor of Imo State, Emeka Ihedioha, has dumped the opposition People's Democratic Party. Ihedioha made this known in a resignation letter today, addressed to the People's Democratic Party chairman in Imbutu Ward, Abo Mbise local government area of the state. According to Ihedioha, who has been a member of the party since its inception in 1998, he has contributed immensely to its growth and evolution. However, in recent times, his personal beliefs and the current trajectory of the opposition party have become increasingly divergent. The former governor lamented recent developments within the People's Democratic Party, stating that it has deviated from its core principles. Ihedioha also expressed concerns over the party's inability to enact internal reforms, uphold its regulations, and effectively oppose a really non-progressive Congress. The ex-governor added that he would be dedicated to advancing democracy and good governance in the country despite his decision to resign from the PDP. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has officially served the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, with a copy of the charge sheet for alleged fraud amounting to 84 billion naira. The latest action was taken after Yaya Bello's absence in court following an order by Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja. The charges against Bello, which was served through his legal counsel, include 19 counts of alleged money laundering totaling 84 billion naira. In accordance with Section 384, subsection 4 and 5 of the Administrative and Criminal Justice Act 2015, the judge directed Bello's lawyer, Abdul Wahab Mohammed, to receive a copy of the charge on his behalf. The court determined that if personal service of a legal process on a defendant is not possible, it can be done through substituted means. Justice Nwite also noted that the former governor's failure to appear in court for his arraignment was evident. Despite initially refusing to accept the charges and proof of evidence, Bello's lawyer Mohammed was ultimately compelled to do so by Justice Nwite. The judge denied the senior lawyer's request for a junior lawyer, Al Musa, to accept the charges on behalf of the former governor. A legal team member, Adedayo Adedikpe, informed the court that his client Bello was willing to appear but had concerns about receiving a fair trial. He stressed that Bello was prepared to address the 19-count charge from the EFCC in court. Adedikpe then appealed to the court to revoke the ex parte arrest order issued against the former governor, stating that his client had not been served with the charges at the time of the arrest order. In the same vein, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested former Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika over an ongoing 8 billion naira money laundering probe. The indicted former Minister of Aviation arrived at the Federal Capital Territory Command of the EFCC at about 1 p.m. today. Correspondents who were at the Wuse office of the EFCC observed the embattled former minister's arrival at the Anti-Graft Agency's Abuja office. Following his arrival at the command, Sirika is currently meeting with EFCC investigators to answer questions on alleged fraudulent contracts awarded by him to a company known as N8bn Nigeria Limited, owned by his younger sibling, Abubakar Sirika. Impeccable anti-graft sources also, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak, confirmed this recent development. Also, a credible source who spoke with correspondents earlier today revealed that the Anti-Graft Commission is investigating the activities of the Aviation Ministry for conspiracy, abuse of office, diversion of public funds, and contract inflation. Others are criminal breaches of trust and money laundering amounting to 8 billion naira during Sirika's tenure in office. The sum is said to be for 4 aviation contracts from the former minister to a company known as N8bn Nigeria Limited, which is owned by his younger sibling, Abubakar Sirika. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, more news. Welcome back. This is still the World News at 6 on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. I actually have right here in the studio a political, social and national affairs commentator, an economic strategist and one of the best-selling authors in Africa on what you would call how to get your business content and business activities on the market. And that is in person of Peter Anosike. Peter Anosike, good evening and thank you for joining me on the World News at 6.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I'm going to start off with Yaya Bello, right? The EFCC has eventually been able to get a court order and the court process is to begin. For Yaya Bello, his response has been that he doesn't have an issue appearing in court, but that his fear is the fact that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission may not prosecute his case objectively. Why would Yaya Bello make such a statement?
This is a monster that they created that they have now become afraid of.
Who created this monster you're talking about?
Yaya Bello and those in the APC. Because what you have in the country is legal system and never justice system. So they created a legal system instead of a justice system. And he has seen that what they did is wrong.
Okay.
And that's why he is now running away from the monster that they created. So saying that he is not sure of getting a fair hearing, his party don't believe in fair hearing. That's why before the election, their mantra was go to court, because they know that they own the court.
Okay.
So now it is a monster that they created that he's now afraid of, because he's a member of the ruling party. He was in the good book of the former president.
True.
He even bought the nomination form for the president in 2019. So why is he now afraid of the same thing that they made? So for me, he evaded the justice. He evaded the arrest.
All right. A lot of critics like yourself and political analysts have made mention of the fact that the Yaya Bello debacle is possibly a distraction. And I remember asking that analyst, why would they say Yaya Bello's situation as a distraction? He likened this case with that of Peter Edu. that this could just be something where there have been claims that the president is being selective with some corruption cases, and that since there are overwhelming evidence against Yaya Bello, the EFCC could start the process, and later on we don't hear anything and say he's been cleared of those charges, possibly because Yaya Bello is a close ally of the president. Do you see this case having to transform or become a better edu case? Do we see it being, resolved in that manner?
Well, those that are saying that Yaya Bello is a close aide of
President Tinubu
don't know history.
Okay.
Because when the former national chairman of APC, Abubakar Sunday, announced the former Senate president as APC consensus candidate,
Okay.
Yaya Bello was in the forefront. Yaya Bello was in the forefront. He never supported Tinubu, but it was later that he was now, when he saw that the game was up, that's why he now stepped down. Okay. He was in the forefront of those that worked for the former Senate President Ahmed to emerge as the consensus presidential candidate of the APC.
Yeah.
So those who are saying that it's a close, no, he is not. He has not been.
All right, let's move on to the former Minister of Aviation. I remember yesterday, right on this platform, I was trying to connect with my analyst, but the network was very glitchy, so I ended up having to just explain most of the stories that were read. And I recall that one of the questions I asked was, after Yaya Bello, what about other petitions, other cases on the table of the EFCC? One of that is Hadi Sirika. If you recall, last year, Festus Keyamo held a press conference when he said he had concluded a report on the situation with the aviation industry, and he said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's table already has that report on it. He was not going to speak further because the president attended the COP28 summit. I think that was earlier on this year.
When the president was outside
the country. That was when he went for COP28. And Nigerians were asking, when will the president allow this case to officially open, where the EFCC can go ahead to investigate it? Well, that particular situation has occurred today. Hadi Sirika was nabbed by the EFCC. Do we see this case?
Excuse me.
All right, please.
That's a wrong use of word.
All right.
He was invited.
He was invited. He wasn't nabbed.
He wasn't
arrested.
So what is going on is just a kind of questioning him, understand?
Okay.
Which is not the EFCC that we know.
So you're saying that what actually took place today is not an arrest, is an invitation.
He was invited to come and explain his conduct. Because when he was coming, we didn't see any form of...
Well, the EFCC put up a report by saying that, especially correspondents who were at the scene today, said it was an arrest and not an invitation.
But he came on his own.
Okay.
He came to the EFCC office on his own.
Okay.
EFCC did not go to his house to pick him up. So these are two different issues.
All right.
So he's still been given a kind of preferential treatment.
Like the case of Umar Sadiq, is that something?
Omar Sadiq and Betty Edu. Betty Edu was never arrested.
She was invited.
They were just invited. So these are two different issues.
All right. Hadi Sirika, on several occasions, I recall, immediately his tenure expired, said that he's not afraid.
And that nobody can do him anything.
He made that statement when he was still the aviation minister. Afterwards, when Nigerians were clamoring, and the several protests that was held at the International Muhammad Airport right here in Lagos, I remember Hadi Sirika saying that he's not afraid and he has done nothing wrong. When Festus Keyamo made that expose about the fraudulent activities that takes place in the aviation industry and the monopoly, the ultimate monopoly there, where Nigerians are paying for the heavy tax duties in that particular sector, I remember Hadi Sirika saying categorically that he has nothing to hide. So will Hadi Sirika be able to explain how he demanded 5% shares of the National Carrier Air from him with the contract he had with Ethiopian Airline concerning the National Carrier, that's the Nigeria Air scam? That's one. Two, will the EFCC properly delve into this matter if there is already a report giving a total breakdown of the fraudulent activity and even some confession from the contractor that Hadi Sirika had the connection with?
Well, for me, let me see how he's going to wriggle himself out of this.
Okay.
Because one, awarding a contract to your your junior brother is not known to the law. Understand?
All right.
Because as a government official, you don't award contract to where you have interest. You don't do that. It is corruption. Because you will not be able to effectively exercise oversight function.
So,
there will be sentiment. There will be bias. Due process will not be followed.
all right.
So it's just like awarding that contract to himself.
So,
Which is a
obviously.
criminal offense.
So, do you think for Hadi Sirika not to have run away and him stating that he's not afraid and he has done nothing wrong, do you think he has strong evidence to prove otherwise? Aside from the reports Festus Keyamo has already been able to table down and whatever charges and investigations that the EFCC has already done on their own?
Well, why people are kept behind bar, why their cases are being investigated is to stop them from meddling that's in the fires. But this guy has been free, has been on the street for enough.
Yes.
And he still have his people in the aviation industry. So I don't know what they might have covered for him or not. But there are weighty evidences that cannot be covered.
Okay. Now, a lot of Nigerians, specifically when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu commenced his administration, a lot of them made comments, especially opposition, that his administration will not do due diligence in fighting corruption. We're seeing a lot of cases coming to the limelight. For the EFCC to pursue these cases, it means that they have gotten the go-ahead from the executive. So do we think that narrative has changed, that the president indeed is not going about selective justice and he's actually going against those who mutilated the Nigerian economy during the administration of former President Buhari?
For me, I'm still seeing the EFCC picking and choosing. Because you cannot be inviting some and arresting some. You cannot be inviting some and arresting some. Where is Omar Farouk today? What has happened to Betta Edu's case? Understand?
They cleared her. They said that they have concluded investigation and they found her clear.
And she confessed to paying government money into a private account, which is against the CBN Act.
If not just confess, we saw the leaked memo where she asked for that money to be transferred to a private account.
So, for me, from day one, I know that Tinubu cannot fight corruption. Understand me? Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. What we are seeing is nothing but propaganda and perception game.
So you're saying all of this is a diversionary
They are
strategy?
deceiving Nigerians.
So you don't think that they will go up to the heights in ensuring that they get to the nitty-gritty of this matter?
They are deceiving Nigerians until these people who we know are obviously corrupt, obviously swindled our economy, are behind bars.
Mr. Peter Anosike.
These people,
okay.
Let me mention their names.
Please do.
Omar Farouk.
Okay.
Betta Edu. Manami, that's the former Attorney
General of the Federation.
That's of the Federation. Until they are in Kuje prison, Tinubu is not fighting corruption.
Yesterday in the news, when I had issues trying to connect with my analyst, I read it right here on this particular platform that the EFCC is about to commence investigation on the persons that you just mentioned. That's why I'm asking you. The president seems to be taking his time, or rather took his time to settle in and begin to do what is needed to be done. The press has been calling him to question on all of this financial embezzlement by these former public officials within the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. We're beginning to see that comment. But the ultimate question is, when will Buhari be invited for questioning by the EFCC?
Well, for me, I don't expect Buhari to be invited. Because
Why don't you expect that?
One, Buhari has never been in charge. Even when Buhari was a military head of state, as a young man, he wasn't in charge.
But that does not exonerate him from all of these cases because they happened while he was the president, and these were sectors that were answerable to him.
Buhari cannot explain what happened in his office as a president.
So are you saying that we had a president that was completely oblivious of what was going on in the polity?
That is who he is.
So individuals were running the government and taking advantage of taxpayers' monies?
As a military governor, that's what happened. When Abacha made him the chairman of a petroleum trust fund, he used a consultant. So he had never been in charge. When he was the chairman of a PTF, about $200 billion missed then. That's under the army. Imagine $200 billion at that point in time. He said that he didn't know that such money missed.
In South Africa, former President Jacob Zuma was being investigated. In fact, at the moment, there was a time he was quite imprisoned. At what point in this part of the world are we going to see that kind of scenario unfold?
We need about 5-6 reincarnations before we can get to where South Africa is.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari no longer has immunity. So what is the fear for inviting him for questioning to answer for all of this financial impropriety that took place? Some of them had his signature on the monies approved.
One, I told you that these people knows how to take care of themselves. Mind you, Jonathan was never invited for anything. Understand? There were a lot of corruption under Jonathan government, but he was never invited.
Was it because of he conceded? Could that be the reason why there was a supposed peace pact between him and the president at the time, the one who succeeded him?
Under Obasanjo, they said that $16 billion that was meant for electricity missed. Nobody invited Obasanjo up to today. So these people know how to take care of them. And again, this is APC taking over from APC. Understand me? And I said before that a house divided against itself cannot stand.
Okay.
Understand? Buhari still has his 12 million votes in the north that Tinubu will still need in 2027.
All right, finally, before I let you go, Mr. Anosike, as short as possible in a minute. You remember the Chinese supermarket yesterday that was shut down by the federal government? Yeah. Apparently, the owner of that supermarket, she's a Chinese lady. Her name is Cindy Liu Bei. She fled this morning with her family, as was confirmed on the closed circuit television, that is the CCTV television. And apparently, while that particular supermarket was being shut down over perceived discrimination against Nigerians, this woman fled this morning. So are we saying that we're not going to see any case being run against that woman?
Well, for me, I don't really see the reason of her disappearing.
Okay.
Understand me? Because in the United States, there's a supermarket for pregnant women and own.
Okay.
So if you are not pregnant, you cannot go there.
Well, for her to have fled, do you think she's actually guilty and that there was no agreement to her having to exclusively sell to Chinese individuals, excluding Nigerians?
For me, really, I don't see that. Well, it could be termed appetite.
All right.
But she should have stayed to explain herself.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Anosike. We've actually run out of time. I would love to ask you more questions. Thank you for sharing your perspective on some of these issues.
Yeah,
I do appreciate your input.
Thank you for having me.
To wrap up here again are the top stories. You heard that President Tinubu's government secures discounted prices for CNG. Ex-Imo Governor Ijeoma dumps PDP, gives reasons. EFCC officially says Yaya Bello's lawyer 84 billion naira fraud charges sheet. EFCC arrests Sirika over alleged 8 billion naira Nigeria Air fraud. And Fubara pledges to resist pressure from self-serving politicians. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.